Hi, I'm Tom Marks with the Marks Law Firm, and welcome to the Healthy Family Law Attorney. Because I believe your family matters, I want to provide hope and help to your family to successfully navigate the family law process in a healthy way. Today, we have a special guest with us, Dr. Angela Jones. How are you today?
I'm well, Tom. How are you?
I'm well too. We're going to talk about the social investigation in a family law case. And I know you're a social investigator. I know you have a ton of designations behind your name. And I'd love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, sure. I would like to start off first by saying that I'm Dr. Angel Jones. I am from St. Louis, Missouri. I am a retired 20-year Air Force veteran. After retiring from the Air Force, I opened up a private practice in 2015. I have been practicing as a mental health practitioner since 2009, so a little bit over a decade now. I enjoy focusing my private practice on alternative dispute resolution type theories. So I enjoy parent coordination, reunification counseling, and as you mentioned, social investigation.
So I know you're a licensed marriage and family therapist. I know you're involved in collaborative law. And so you are have a wide variety of expertise. And I know you're a social investigator, and that's our topic today, because most people don't really know what a social investigation is under Chapter 61.2 of the Florida statutes. So let's talk about that because people hear the terms guardian ad litem or social investigator. Tell us what you do as a social investigator.
Sure. As a social investigator, I keep the best interest of the child at forefront. As a social investigator, you have to be trained. You have to be trained to become a qualified social investigator in order to conduct interviews with persons to ensure you are getting the child's best interest as far as timeshare, as far as relocation. In some cases, children are being alienated by one of the other parents, and so we do investigations to ensure that the child is having a healthy relationship with both parents.
Okay, great. I want to get into parental alienation, but before we do that, let's talk about generally what kind of testing do you do in a social investigation? Because I know a social investigation, the purpose is to determine what's in the best interest of the minor children and to assist the court in making that determination to provide a report and a recommendation. So, what
Yes.
kind of testing do you do?
As far as the testing in social investigations, depending on what's going on in the case, psychological and mental health assessments can be conducted to assess the parents' abilities as far as mental health to ensure that they are able to co-parent in healthy manners. In some cases, there are parents who may have domestic violence or substance abuse issues, and we will conduct substance abuse assessments just to see if there is a problem that may need to be assessed and taken care of.
Okay. All right. So I know that in social investigations, they're primarily used in somewhat high conflict cases where you've got a custody battle.
Yes.
The court's got to determine, what is the time sharing schedule going to be in the parenting plan. You're involved in high conflict cases, and oftentimes those include what people call parental alienation. Can you give us an idea of what that is?
Yes. Basically, parental alienation is when one of the co-parents has psychologically manipulated the child to maybe have hostility towards the other parent, to have fear towards the other parent, maybe disrespect the other parent. Parental alienation can also lead to the child having disengaged and distant relationships, not only with the distant or the other co-parent, but with that other co-parent's family members as well.
Okay, so I know I have a case right now where there may be parental alienation going on. We're trying to get the court to order that a social investigation be conducted, and there's multiple children. And the problem there is that some of the children identify with mom, some identify with dad. And so now the children are not time sharing overnights with each other. So that can be very damaging
Yes,
to the children, right?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
There are a couple of things that we do as social investigators just to see if parent alienation is going on. We may go into the home, do scheduled home visits. We will do surprise home visits. We observe the parents' interactions with both parents. We talk with witnesses, school teachers, counselors, just to see if there actually is something going on with parent alienation.
Okay, so those are some of the things you do to try to uncover whether there's alienation going on in the case. How do you get the children to talk to you, to tell you really from at least their perspective what is going on in the case?
So I am a registered play therapist. So as a registered play therapist, I have a very good understanding of how to work with children to get them to uncover things and be truthful with me. I ensure to build rapport with the children first and foremost. I usually will bring them outside of their normal environment, which is with at one of the parents' homes, and I will bring them into my office just so that they'll know that they're in a safe place where they can talk and know that I am here for them and I have their best interests at heart. Once I do build that trust with them, I will begin the interviewing process with them. And I mentioned to you that I am a registered play therapist. In play therapy, we do something that is somewhat like talk therapy with adults versus instead of doing the talk therapy, it's an indirect type of therapy that helps us to uncover the child's emotional concerns that they may have. We may pull out sand trays or games or maybe do some drawings. And from the indirect way of playing with the children, we are able to see where they may place certain objects, or if they're drawing or playing with the sand, they may put one parent closer to them and another parent off to the side, and we talk them through that in order to uncover different things, emotions, and the dynamics of the relationship with that child and the parent.
Okay, so I've heard a lot about play therapy and sand tray therapy, and I imagine that's used for younger children. Is there a certain age limit or maturity level that you look at?
No, actually, there is not an age limit. You can actually, I do adult play therapy as well. It works well with adults as well. Play therapy is usually good with kids that are maybe 3 to 4 years old on up. Yes.
Okay, interesting. I had not heard that about play therapy with adults.
Yes.
So
Yes.
interesting.
I'm trained as a play therapist for adults as well.
Wow. Okay, and that's a designation that you have.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, interesting. Let me ask our audience if you've ever encountered what you think is parental alienation in a case. Leave a comment below. Either I or Dr. Jones can get back to you on that. It's interesting. Dr. Jones, do you have any idea how prevalent parental alienation may be in the cases you look at for social investigations?
In the case well, I would say about 90, probably over 90% of the social investigation cases that I deal with, there is some form of parental alienation going on. And so that is identified within the investigation, and I do provide that information over to the judge to help him to make his recommendations with his final judgment as far as the timeshare, parental responsibility, whether or not there needs to be additional counseling with the child or the child and one of the parents.
That's really a shame because that alienation really harms the child, right? It creates detriment to the child or the children in the marriage. And I think sometimes parents lose sight of what's really in the best interest of their children. They may be so hurt that, or they may be just being vindictive or something, that they try to hurt the other parent. And in the process, they're really hurting the children, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They are.
Yeah, that's really not a healthy way to approach a family law case. And again, these are high conflict cases. This is really not like, I've never seen this happen in a collaborative case. So collaborative, obviously, you're not going to court, you're not testifying. We typically don't have social investigators in collaborative cases. We do have mental health professionals in collaborative cases. And I think you also are, you do have the certification or training in collaborative, right?
Yes, sir. I do, Tom.
Okay, good. So tell us, have you testified in court as a social investigator in a parenting case like this?
Yes, I've had to testify in court for several different issues going on, as far as high conflict cases, and I have had to recently testify in the Orange County court system on a relocation case. The investigation that I conducted was very thorough, and the parent and the child were granted the opportunity to relocate.
Okay, so that's interesting because when you do a relocation case, then you have to do a long distance parenting plan and determine what time sharing, how do you do that? Because if one parent's out of state, you can't do obviously alternating weekends, or you can't do alternating weeks. So you give more time in the summer, or what do you do?
Yes. So in this case, it was actually relocating to a couple of hours south of Orange County, Orlando area. And the timeshare recommendation that I gave was based off of the parent's work schedule. And in the recommendation, I did suggest that the child spend more summers with the parents, with the non-custodial parent, and instead of spending every weekend or every other weekend with the non-custodial parent, because of the time and the distance and the drive, I thought that it would be best if the child spent time with them maybe every 3 weekends, and they got every long weekend and more of the holidays in addition to the summers.
Okay.
In the summer.
All right, interesting. Just to let our audience know, in a relocation case, if one parent wishes to move more than 50 miles from their current location, then they're required to file a supplemental petition to relocate or to get permission of the custodial parent. So oftentimes they don't get that permission because it makes things more difficult when there's a relocation. So that's when a social investigator like Dr. Jones can get involved. And then there's going to be a determination by the court. Okay, so Dr. Jones, as a social investigator, what could you tell our audience to give them some hope and help in a parenting case like this moving forward?
What I would recommend in a high conflict case where a social investigator is involved, in order to get the best outcome, it is important that as a parent, first and foremost, that you keep the child's best interest at forefront. being able to be honest and open with the social investigator, being able to identify and acknowledge any strengths or weaknesses that you yourself as a parent have. A lot of times the parents like to point blame and finger on the other parent, the co-parent, but just trying to not be negative, not speaking negative to the child about the other co-parent. That is also very important.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with that completely. Well, as you know, this is the Healthy Family Law Attorney channel. And I always want to provide our audience with a healthy tip for them in what can be in their life or in their case. Do you have a healthy tip for our audience today?
Yes, I have a tip that I have for the audience, and something that I always share with parents, and that is remembering to do what's best for the child over what's easy. That means putting the child first.
Yeah, that's great advice. Because what's easy isn't always best, right?
Yeah.
Important things are often the hard things to do, and to put your children ahead of your needs and your feelings and your hurts and pain. I do feel for my clients having to go through these custody battles, because it's a very difficult thing. And we really, really do try to reach out to the other side and to try to find common ground, and to find if there's a way to navigate a process in a healthy way to successfully achieve the goals that the parents have. So, Dr. Jones, thank you so much for being here today. I hope our audience has enjoyed this. I think you've offered some really valuable content today. If our audience has found value in the content, I would love it if they would subscribe, hit that like button, ring that bell icon so you get notifications of all future videos. We'll be posting every Wednesday and every Friday. I love these interviews because the give and take, I think, is interesting. And I love to bring in experts from other fields to give advice to our clients, or to give, just really valuable information. So, Dr. Jones, you've been great today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for inviting me out. It was a pleasure, and best of luck to all of those co-parents out there who are going through social investigations.
That's great. Thank you so much. And we will see the audience next time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.